Hi, and welcome back to Common Knowledge, a show where I take a look at common Magic the Gathering cards and tell you are they any good in the Pauper format or not. Hey, I do want to say thanks again for all the new subscribers and all the people who watched. I guess the ban video is or all the cards that are banned in the format video is the one that is most popular. It's over 9,000 views, which makes my internet poisoned millennial mind think about fun memes. But it's pretty cool. It's that's neat. But hey, we're gonna continue looking at pauper cards here, or common cards here on the channel, and I hope to continue doing that the 5 days a week, and then maybe do those special videos every once in a while whenever they show up. But let's see our first card of the day. It's Untamed Might. For X and green, you get an instant. Target creature gets +X/+X until end of turn. That's kind of interesting. You know, it's a make your own giant growth, and obviously worse than giant growth in most instances, because giant growth is an instant that gives you +3/+3 off the bat for just a single green. And this, you have to continue putting more mana into it to get to those higher numbers. You have to put 4 mana into it to make a giant growth, which is bad. But you could also put 6 mana into it and be better than giant growth, or 8 mana, or an infinite amount of mana. Think about any infinite combos out there that this could potentially help. The problem with infinite combos is that you probably want the infinite combos that will just kill the opponent instantly and not have nearly as much counterplay to them. And Untamed Might, you have to put this on a target creature. So your opponent has more options of not only countering this spell, but then killing the creature as well that you're trying to apply this to. And this by itself doesn't give any sort of evasion, so you have to wait until you have enough creatures that can swing in without being blocked, or have a creature with trample. Not that that's difficult to do, but it's not as simple as some of the other combo potential. If you already have infinite mana, which is kind of what we're talking about here, you just have better ways of doing this. But if you can get it unblocked and you can make your creature huge and just win the game like that, sure. You can also use this as a combat trick, obviously, like a giant growth that your opponent blocks with whatever, and you put enough mana into it that your guy lives and their guy dies, or that you trade, whichever you need to do at that particular moment. Those are all options available to you. But I just think you have better options. You have cheaper options. At this point, you could just give something Death Touch and Indestructible, right? There's it's something Vigor, right? Is that actually a common? It's not Vigor. I know that. That's a Horrid Vigor. There you go. That's the one I'm thinking of. Death Touch and Indestructible until end of turn. Like, that's 2 mana, and you basically would get, if you're just trying to kill the creature, what you're getting with this, and you can do it for just 2 mana instead of having to continually put in a ton of mana to this. But Horrid Vigor doesn't do 1,000 damage with infinite mana, so there's a place for it, but I don't think it's a place in your pauper decks. So where does that leave Untamed Might? I also do want to mention good art on this one, for sure. I do like my Mirrodin cards. Score wise, I think I'm going to give this like a halfway decent score. It's I think combat tricks are really cool, and I wish we could see more of them see play. And you got to be the change you want to see in the world, I suppose. I don't play enough combat tricks, but I should. Let's give this thing a 3.2, I think. This being, you can call this modal, exactly. I guess any spell with X in it is kind of a modal spell, but I like having the flexibility of an X spell here. I like it being at instant speed. There's a lot I like here, even if it, maybe if it gave trample. If it was target creature gets +X/+X and gains trample until end of turn, I would like it a lot more. But I still think it's kind of cool, even if I don't think it's particularly good. I think it's fine. I just don't think it's particularly good for the pauper format. Next is Tend the Sprigs. This is a pretty brand new card at this point. Tend the Sprigs is 2 and a green for a sorcery. Search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Then if you control 7 or more lands and or tree folk, create a 3/4 tree folk creature token with a reach, which means it can block creatures with flying, because that's what reach means. Oh god, it was a little while ago, but I did a full Pauper review of Lorwyn Eclipse. So I've definitely already rated this card at some point, but that was for that one video, not for the rating common cards series. So I guess I'll rate it again. It'd be very funny to compare what I say now to what I said then, which wasn't that long ago, only a couple months ago. So my opinion shouldn't have changed that much, and the format shouldn't have changed that much. But okay, what do we have here? We have a Rampant Growth that costs 1 more than Rampant Growth. Already not great. But it does have that extra bonus that it can potentially be both a land and a 3/4 tree folk for you. And you have to have 7 lands or tree folk. And how many tree folk are you playing in Pauper? Not a ton. Honestly, not a ton. But what you do play a halfway decent amount of are changelings. Changelings are every creature type. So that does get your tree folk in there. Is it enough where you're going to have 7? You know, enough lands and enough changeling creatures or tree folk creatures, if you do find some tree folk that you want to play, that this becomes worth it? I don't think so. You know, we already don't play Rampant Growth. Rampant Growth isn't good enough for the Pauper format now. You know, you have to have Cleansing Wildfire, and it has to draw you a card and find you a land and do something funky in that way, and also be a removal spell when you need it to be a removal spell. So I think the bar is too high for Rampant Growth, which means it's way too high for cards that are Rampant Growth, but a little worse, but maybe a little better. I don't think you'll get the Tree Folk often enough to make paying 3 mana worth it when you don't. And if you're trying to hold this card up until you get the 7 threshold here, I think it's just going to end up being a dead card in your hand most times. So I don't particularly like it for the Pauper format. I don't particularly like it for most formats. Maybe probably fine in Commander, I imagine, because you can make that happen a little easier. What are we going to give this? I think I'm going to give this a 2.4. Yeah, I think a 2.4 is just about where this belongs. Next is Command Bridge. It's a land, enters tapped. When this land enters, you sacrifice it unless you tap an untapped permanent you control. You tap it to add 1 mana of any color. I think these are okay. We've seen a lot of lands that do something like this. I think there's one, is it the Clue land? Oh, now I need to know. The artifact Clue land that makes you tap Scene of the Crime. Scene of the Crime. I don't think Scene of the Crime is Pauper legal. No, it's not. But yeah. Oh no. This isn't the one I'm thinking of either. Yeah, that's like a Springleaf Drum on a thing. No, the land I'm thinking of is specifically. You have to tap an artifact, I think. What if I? So hey, let's just, you've got nowhere to be. I'm sure, you probably do, but. I'm gonna take up some of your time anyway. Let's paste that in here, and then let's say untapped artifact and see what we get. Public Thoroughfare. That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah. So they kind of just made a better Public Thoroughfare, right? Yeah, because God, these sets are so close to each other too, MKM and EOE. But we just made a better Public Thoroughfare now. I think Command Bridge is fine. I really do. It doesn't really see any Pauper play that I've seen, and I'm trying to think of the decks that might want to play it, and I'm struggling a little bit because what deck goes really wide, but also plays enough colors that you need something that can make mana of any color, and also doesn't mind a land coming in tapped. It's not elves. Elves can certainly play a number of colors, especially with the sideboard added, but they don't want tapped lands. White Weenie doesn't need colors, but it has plenty of things to tap, certainly, and it also doesn't need tapped lands, though. It needs to be fast and aggressive. So I'm struggling a little bit. Jund Wildfire, not really. They're getting enough lands with Cleansing Wildfire. They already play tapped lands with the bridges, with not the command bridges, but the artifact indestructible bridges. So I'm struggling a little bit on where this plays into a deck. I think it could. Are we ever going to get to a 5-color Pauper deck that has any real play? If we did, this might be a card you play in it. This is a terrible idea, but does a Slivers deck play a card like this? Because now you can play all your different colors of Slivers. Probably not. It's probably too slow. Probably too slow to have this come into play tapped and have to tap something else. I don't think you'd do that either. But I think it fits somewhere. I just don't know where that is yet. If you know, please let me know. Throw it down in the comments. Where could Command Bridge see some play? I would be really interested by that. I'm going to end up giving this, and I'm giving it a relatively high score because it is a land, and lands are just generally good. I'm going to give this a 5.5. And if you are newish to the channel, 5 is where I go, oh, this is kind of Pauper playable. Like this could show up in a Pauper deck, or has shown up in a Pauper deck. And then as you go from 5 to 10, it is, how good is it in its deck, or how good is it in multiple decks? And then you get up to something like Brainstorm, which I think I gave like a 9.5 when I got to Brainstorm, because it's really good, and it's really good in a lot of different decks. So Command Bridge, even though I don't think I've seen it in a Pauper deck yet, because of it being a land and can do so many things, and the opportunity cost is so low, because I think it has potential to show up in future decks, or even current decks that I just don't know about, I'm going to hedge a little bit and give it that. What did I give it? 5.5. And I think that's probably where I'm going to go with it. I think this is a cool card, though. Certainly a cool commander card if you need more things that just make mana of any color. I guess if you're making a lot of token stuff, just a lot of artifact tokens, or just artifacts that just hang out on the battlefield, like not Orzhov Blade exactly, but what does that Tithing Blade do when it's on the table already? You can tap that and it doesn't matter. So maybe, or just the artifact tokens. You can tap a clue token and still use it later. So I don't know. I think there's something there to it, but you got to tell me where this could possibly go. Our next card is Covenant of Blood. It is 6 and a black, which is a lot, but you're probably not going to pay that much. It's a sorcery that has Convoke. Your creatures can help cast this spell. Each creature you tap while casting the spell pays for one generic or 1 mana of this creature's color. Covenant of Blood deals 4 damage to any target, and you gain 4 life. So at 7 mana, you get an 8-point life swing, which does sound really nice, right? 8-point life swing. Whoa, that's cool, but it ends up not being all that much, especially since you're only doing this the one time. It's a sorcery speed, so you can't really trick an opponent like that. And the Convoke is tough, too. Convoke and sorcery speed, I think, is probably what kills this the most. If this was instant speed and you could just hold up mana and hold up creatures to block, and then you get to the end of your opponent's turn, and then you just tap everything and Convoke this out and get the 8-point life swing, sure, I could see it. At sorcery speed, you have to tap your stuff down, you have to go shields down in a way, and then let the opponent have a turn, and they get to, probably take those 4 life points that you just took from them. They'll get to take them right back. And I think that ends up making this thing kind of disappointing. At instant speed, it would definitely see play. At sorcery speed, no. Nope, not at all. In fact, I'm going to give it something like I think just a 2. I think it's pretty bad. If it was instant speed, what would I give it? I think it would probably go up into the 5 or 6 range. That's the difference between sorcery speed and instant speed. It can be a gulf sometimes. All right, next card. Daring Thunder Thief. We have definitely done this card before. We might have even done this card twice, or I referenced it when talking about another card. Very quickly, not gonna count this one, but 4 and a blue for a 4/4 turtle rogue. It's got flash, but it enters tap. Kind of similar to the conversation we just had. This is really cool to be able to put down at the end of an opponent's turn. If you are in blue here, so you can keep up things for the control style of gameplay, and then when they don't do anything, fearing your counter spell, then you put this guy down at the end of their turn, and now you've got a 4/4 body. That's pretty cool. But we've definitely done this before. It's a halfway decent card. Doesn't really see any play in Pauper, and that's probably because you have Tolarian Terrors and Cryptic Serpents that you could just put down bigger guys for cheaper. Not at flash speed, but you can still do it. All right, we'll skip that one on score, and we'll talk about Symbiotic Beast, which is 4 and double green for a 4/4 Insect Beast. That's an interesting creature type. When this creature dies, you create 4 1/1 green insect creature tokens. Okay. So you're getting 8/8 worth of power and toughness, but not all at once. And I think that's the real problem. Or do you want to pay Crawworm prices for a 4/4 instead of a 6/4? And Crawworm, Crawworm is one of my favorite cards, and it's one I remember from a very long time ago. We have powered out Crawworm an extremely long time ago. Now you can get much better creatures for much smaller mana costs. But every time I see 4 and double green, I'm always going to think Crawworm. So you got this 4/4, and you kind of want it to die, or you don't mind that it dies, because then you get 4 green insect creature tokens. They don't even fly. It's not even like a Doomed Traveler or an Infestation Sage at this point. If it was 4, if it was 4 Doomed Travelers shoved together, there's a Modern Horizons card, right? You got your the Siege Gang stuff, and how they try to like smash card. There's a Llanowar. What is it called? It's like a Llanowar Tribe. Is that right? Where they smash 3 Llanowar elves together, and it taps for triple green. So they've done that for a couple different Modern Horizons sets, and that'd be kind of funny. You just throw 4 Doom Travelers together. But that's not what we have here. And I don't think what we have here is very good. You'd have to find ways of looping this. You'd have to have your, maybe like a Golgari shell where you can play Not Dead After All, or any of those other ones that do, hey, when this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped, and then have some kind of sacrifice outlet where you're looping this guy to continually give you all the creature tokens that you need. But even in that scenario, that is a lot of resources to play a kind of bad card. I don't want to pay 6 mana for a 4/4, even if it gets me another 4/4 of power and toughness when it dies. I just don't want to do that. So I won't. And you shouldn't either. Let's go with I'm going to give this a 1.8. I really don't like it. And the mana cost is most of what to do with it. Even if this was just 1 mana less, I think I could be a lot nicer to it. But it's 6 mana. Whew. That's tough. Morgul Knife Wound. I was just looking at this card, weirdly enough, because I was thinking about a commander deck with the Nazgul stuff. So, thinking of the Morgul Knife. Anyway, Morgul Knife Wound is 1 and a black for an enchantment aura that enchants a creature. Enchanted creature gets -3/-0 and has, at the beginning of your upkeep, exile this creature unless you pay 2 life. I don't like these. I never have. Well, that's not true. That's not true. I have liked these in the past. I have liked specifically one, Pillory of the Sleepless, which is not a good card. I'm not saying this is a good card, even though it is Pauper playable. I think we've talked, or Pauper legal. I think we've talked about this one before, but I do for some reason like this pacifism that also makes them lose a life. That's probably because I was just playing Guild Pact back in the day and really loved Orzhov. Morgul Knife Wound isn't Pillory of the Sleepless, but it does cost a mana cheaper. Doesn't require the white pip, so that's something. Does give the -3/-0, so in that way it kind of works a little bit like it. Like, okay, yeah, they're not. It's not that they can't attack, but they can't attack well because the creature lost a lot of its power. But what I really don't like here is giving your opponent the option. I never like giving the opponent the option because the opponent's obviously going to pick the thing that benefits them the most in the moment. Pillory of the Sleepless is a card that is fun to put on a creature because you know it's going to drain them turn after turn after turn. You don't know that with this. They could, when it's convenient for them, when it's most useful for them, they will just exile the creature, which isn't a bad outcome for you, but there's going to be a time where you go, ooh, I really wish they'd lose that 2 life instead of exiling that creature. And they will not because they want to play the game as efficiently and as correctly as possible. So I don't like cards that give opponents options, unless they are both truly terrible options. The villainous choice cards in Commander or something like that. But here, I don't like this. I don't like this. I'm still gonna give it like a 2.2. It is in essence a removal spell, and it does potentially make your opponent lose life. Those are both good things, but just play the cast down. Just kill the creature. Just get it out of there. Not a fan of that one. Wall of 1,000 Cuts, or 1,000 Cuts, is 3 and double white for a 3/5 wall with Defender and Flying. You can pay white, and this creature can attack as though it didn't have Defender. Pretty bad. Which is sad, because this is definitely a play on one of my favorite looking Magic cards of all time, and that is Wall of Swords. Not this one, although that one obviously looks a lot like this one. You can see where they got the inspiration, but no. Which the one I'm talking about is this is my baby right here. This 5th edition one. Look at those swords. Look at that pink background. The 3/5. It's a 3/5 flying wall, which this is also a 3/5 flying wall. So you see the reference. Why did they feel it needed to have another point or another pip of white in its mana cost? I don't know. I really don't. Because paying to not have Defender for a turn is not good. Like, not good enough. Like, if you're gonna power creep Wall of Swords, just power creep Wall of Swords. This is like somebody might say this is a side grade to Wall of Swords. And it is, I guess, in that it can become a creature and can attack, but it has that drawback of having another mana cost. But this sucks. Aren't Modern Horizons cards supposed to be good? Or I guess it's just Modern Horizons 3 that juiced everything to high heaven. But this I don't like. I don't like Wall of 1,000 Cuts, because I do like Wall of Swords. Let's give this thing a 1.5. That's probably too high, honestly. I'm going to give it a 1.3. That's what I'm going to give it. I don't want to pay 5 mana for a wall, even one that could eventually attack. I don't think that's good at all. Banalish Veteran is 2 and a white for a 2/2 human soldier. Whenever this creature attacks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. That is a normal Magic card if I have ever seen one. So we got ourselves a Grizzly Bear that becomes Hill Giant's the wrong word, but it becomes a 3/3, which is what a Hill Giant is. So I guess that works. It's a Grizzly Bear that becomes a Hill Giant, and it costs. You know what? Actually, that does work. It's a Grizzly Bear that becomes a Hill Giant, and it costs right in the middle of those two things. That's fun. It's not good, but it is fun. I'm going to give this a 1.2. The mana cost is too bad. You don't, no. And it's just so vanilla. This is not a card you should ever play. You will find other human soldiers to play instead. Chapelgeist is 1 and double white for a 2/3 flying spirit. Well, okay, let's give this a score. It's not good. I will give this a score of 1.3, I guess. But it is funny to see these cards back to back. So three mana for a 2/3 flyer versus 3 mana for a 2/2 that can become a 3/3 when it attacks, but has no evasion. This is better. It's just that both of them are bad. Even with double white pips, this is better. But they're both bad. Don't play either one of them. Is this our last one? This is our last official card of the day. It's Invading Manticore, which I feel like we've done before. I'm not as sure on this one, so we're gonna do it anyway. Invading Manticore is 5 and a red for a 4/5 zombie Manticore. And when this creature enters, you amass zombies too. It used to just say amass two, but now that we have amass as amassing orcs as well, this one has to say, hey, it's a zombie army. It's a different army. So you amass zombies too, which means you put 2+1/+1 counters on an army you control. It's also a zombie. If you don't control an army, it's you make a 0/0 black army creature token, and then you put the counters on it. So you can only ever have one army at a time. That makes sense, right? It's an army. You can add things to the army, but you can't have two armies. People have two armies, but not in Magic. So do you want 6 mana for a, what is that? Oh God, I gotta say the number, don't I? 6 mana for a 6/7 zombie Manticore. I don't think you do. You could blink this, I suppose. You're probably not bouncing it because you don't really want to play the 6 mana again. But you could blink this, and then you keep getting army counters, I suppose. There's easier ways to make an army token big. Yeah, this card's not good. This card's not good. I will give it a 1.6, I think. And we'll do a bonus card and then get out of here. Byway Courier is 2 and a green for a 3/2 human scout. When this creature dies, investigate. That is also pretty normal. I think this is a nice, if you want to get like a basic cube going, I think this is a cool card for something like that. If you're doing like a limited deck, I guess in Shadows of Innistrad, this would have been limited and probably not particularly good. You know what? Actually, this is perfect. Foundation's Jumpstart. What a perfect card for a Foundation Jumpstart deck. Just a little something to let you know how Magic works. Not too complicated. Pretty good. Not a good card though. Not for the Pauper format. This is just bad, honestly. But 3/2 for 3 makes a clue when it leaves. Well, when it dies. If it was leaves, then we could talk about blinking and bouncing and blah blah blah. I'll give this a 2.1. No, I'll just give it a 2. Just a 2. But making the clue token's nice. A 3/2 body is one that your opponent will want to block. 3 damage is enough damage, especially if you get to do it multiple times a game. They're going to go, oh, I need to block this thing now. And then you get a clue token off it. That's nice. Or they block it or they kill it. But, either way, the creature's dead and you get the token. And are they really going to spend an exile effect on this? Maybe, but probably not. So I don't hate it, but it's just not good enough for the Pauper format. That's it for this one. We'll catch you on the next one. See ya.